This is AJ from Sports Hub Media with actually Jeb Bush and Mike Zakarian, host of NBA Bit and Celtics Daily. So thank you all for coming here. And how are we all doing?
Doing
Good.
pretty good.
Thanks for having us, AJ. This is fun.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Thanks. So let's start with predictions. Who do you think will win the NBA championship this upcoming season right here?
Man, the Oklahoma City Thunder look pretty good, huh? They've won their first couple of games. They don't even have all of their players yet, and they still look like they're the favorites. So it's hard to pick against them. So I think I will take the Oklahoma City Thunder yet again, as boring of an answer as that is.
Okay, who do you think they will be playing
Oh,
against?
great question. The New York Knicks, they're like fake good where everybody's excited about them without them actually going deep. And I think the Knicks will actually come out of the Eastern Conference and then lose in like 4 games to the Thunder.
Okay, how about you, Jeb?
I've also got the Knicks making it to the finals just because the East is such a joke. Tatum's out. It looks like the Celtics are probably gonna wave the white flag. The Pacers are not looking good either. So I think really the Knicks just have to beat the Cavs, and I think they definitely can do that. But on the West, I actually have the Nuggets winning it
Ooh.
all. I think they took OKC to 7 games last year, and they just ran out of gas in game 7. And they now have a backup center that could start on another team. He's basically a starter. And just watching those first couple of games where Jokic sits out and the whole team just doesn't fall apart and, lose a lead and all that,
Yeah.
like, I think it's only going to get better as Jamal Murray and Cam Johnson and Bruce Brown, get more familiar with Valanciunas. Cam Johnson gets more familiar with this new team. I think they've got a legit A squad and B squad, and I don't think Jokic has ever had that in his career. On top of that, Aaron Gordon, Jamal Murray look healthy. They look good and sharp right now. So I think they're going to pace themselves, and I think coming in the playoffs they're going to be guns ablazing. And I just don't think anyone can stop them in 7 games.
I
Okay.
like it.
Now in Dallas, how do you think the Mavs will do this year with Cooper Flagg? Let's start with you, Jeb.
I unfortunately think they're destined to be a play-in team and possibly a lottery team if Kyrie doesn't come back when they think or AD gets hurt like he typically does every year. I think there were very, very high expectations put on Flag to contribute right away. And to be fair, I think he's not like a bust. Like he's playing very solid basketball, but he's just not playing at this level that people were hyping him up to be. And I don't think he can carry the team, especially in the West. If he was drafted by a team in the East, I think, they could make a playoff run. They could have a little fun there. But in the West, it's just way too competitive. You're going up against just crazy stacked teams every single day. And I think they're an injury or two away, or just something happening from being in the play-in, or just phoning it in and deciding to try and get in our draft pick.
Okay, how about you, Mike?
Yeah, I think they're in a tough spot. I mean, like Cooper Flag is AJ, how old are you?
I'm 11.
Oh yeah, Cooper Flagg's 7 years older than you. Isn't that crazy? Like that's nuts. And the entire organization is like, we want this 18-year-old to just run the offense. You're going to be the point guard. And I think that's a lot of responsibility. And not that he can't handle it. I think when we get to April, we'll be like, wow, he really has developed and evolved in a way. I think he's going to be a superstar in this league. But I think it's just asking so much. And like historically speaking, young guards who are responsible for, like, even LeBron, you go back. I know Jeb's got some feelings about LeBron, but even LeBron with like Cleveland when he was a rookie, even though he had an impressive year, like his numbers, it was really hard to like lead a team, a winning team, and that's what they're asking Cooper Flag to do. So I think Cooper Flag is going to be awesome. I think Dallas has a lot of really intriguing pieces, but as Jeb outlined, like the Western Conference is so deep, and they're just asking so much from a guy who, played one year of college, and then they were like, "Hey, Yeah, you're in charge of all these 30-year-olds. I think that's a pretty big ask. So I think they'll be fun. I think I'll be excited to watch them. And I think, yeah, like a 7, 8 seed. But what I will say is even if they are a playing team, I would not be pumped if say you're like the 1 seed, the Oklahoma City Thunder, we're like, congrats on winning 65 games in the regular season. In the first round, you get to play Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, and Cooper Flagg. I wouldn't be pumped about that either.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's a mix. I think it depends how the star players of the Dallas does. Because
Hmm.
if Kyrie or AD gets injured, then their chances of the playoffs are gonna go
Definitely.
down. But if they're healthy, I think they might clinch the top. I think they're gonna clinch the top six.
The
But
top six now.
Top
Yeah.
six. Wow.
But I think that's a great point, AJ. Like if they are healthy, like if Kyrie is able to play, if he comes back a little bit earlier than we think, I mean, why couldn't they be better than like the Lakers, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think because and Cooper's having a lot because I think he played the four and the five in college. And now he's
Hmm.
playing the one.
Yeah.
But
It's
when
crazy.
if Kyrie gets back, then he's probably gonna move to the two or the three.
Hmm.
Yeah, hopefully.
Do you think they're gonna start at some point? D'Lo is gonna have to start for the Mavs, AJ, or do you think they're just gonna let Flag be the point guard until Kyrie comes back?
Um, well, it depends. I think if Flad's doing like really well, like people are thinking he should be, then I think D'Lo's still gonna be their sixth man. But if
Mm,
he's not gonna do that well, like 10 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists,
Right.
not really that much, then I think they're gonna put D'Lo in. But I'm
mm,
leaning toward the first option where he's gonna be doing well.
got it.
And now to the Eastern Conference are the Celtics without Jason Tatum and a lot of other players due to the second apron gonna make the playoffs or even the play-in this year.
I think they're
AJ,
gonna.
oh,
I think
go
they're
ahead.
gonna try really hard not to. I think you know Joe Mazzulla thinks they're going to make the playoffs, but if you ask Joe Mazzulla, he probably thinks they're going to the NBA Finals. He all he cares about is winning. But I think the Celtics are really going to try to tank. Jalen Brown is already like he's playing today, but he was questionable. You know, they're 0-3 for the first time in forever, and I think on top of that, it almost is a blessing if they just decide to tank and wave the white flag because, Tatum's already said he wants to play this year. Like he is dead set on it. And I think the last thing they need is to be like a 4 or 5 seed and just be like, just barely good enough where Tatum's like, dude, if I came back and I'm 80%, we could make a run because the East is wide open. I don't want to see Tatum get hurt. I want him 100% healthy and come back next season. So I think personally the Celtics at some point will just be like, let's get a good draft pick here and let's make sure we're really healthy for next season because next season looks pretty good too.
Um, yeah. How about you, Mike?
Well, if you're watching on video, the second Jeb said tank, my dog's face like looked up and was like, "What did he say? Is Celtics tanking?" Uh, yeah. I listen. I am a Celtics fan, and I like host the Celtics Daily, as you said at the top. And at the beginning of the summer, I was pretty adamant that this Celtics team should tank and go. Like it's a very rare situation where you still have a really good core of your team together, but you're in this weird spot where somebody got hurt and there's this incredible draft class. So you have a chance to get a top 5 pick while still coming back and then immediately being an Eastern Conference favorite. That does not happen very often. And the closest comparison we have is what Steph Curry and the Warriors did, and their picks ended up not being great, but that is kind of what happened. And then over the summer, I started talking myself into. I was like, "Well, Jalen Brown's really good. Peyton Pritchard's really good." And I tricked myself because after watching these first 3 games, it's pretty clear that even though the Celtics I do think are going to be competitive, teams like the Toronto Raptors got better, Chicago Bulls got better, the 76ers, as weird as they are, they have gotten better. The Bucks they still have Giannis, and there's just too many teams that are better than them. So I do think when push comes to shove, they'll be like an 8 or a 9 seed, like you said, and then maybe just pull the plug and like, let's rest Jaylen Brown, let's rest Derek White, so that when Tatum does come back, even if he's ready to come back in March, why? Like, why? Let's enjoy your summer. Enjoy your summer. Come back next year. Get a good pick. I think that's how I would do it. We'll see though. As Jeb pointed out, Missoula thinks he's like an Avenger. He thinks the Celtics are Avengers. So like, who knows?
Yeah, so if you were the Celtics GM and the Celtics tank, and you guys get the number one pick, hooray for you. Who would you
Hooray.
draft in this next year?
So I always mess this guy's name up. So let me look it up in real time while we do this. This is a little peek behind the curtain here. AJ Debonsa, and I
Devonsa?
believe he's actually from Massachusetts. He's from Brockton, which means he grew up only like 15 minutes from where I grew up. So he's from Massachusetts. He's the best player in college right now. Let's just let him come, like, come hang out at home. Come hang out in Massachusetts. Go get AJ Debonsa. And if that doesn't happen, give me a Boozer. Boozer's pretty fun. There's this whole class is like really good, but come on, that's like a movie. Guy from Massachusetts gets to get play for his hometown team. That'd be so fun.
So like a LeBron.
Like a LeBron, just like a LeBron, except that he does not go to the Miami or the Lakers, though. AJ stays in Boston forever.
How about you, Jeb? If you were the GM, you get the number one pick. Hooray for you! Who would you select?
Um, Unfortunately, I'm not super familiar with the upcoming draft class, so I'm just gonna piggyback off Mike's answer. Sound like he said, it sounds like a starting five Netflix narrative
That's right.
right off the bat. So I mean, Netflix is probably already licking their chops, hoping this does happen.
Yeah. Let's go. AJ to Boston.
Yeah. How about Houston? The Houston Rockets aren't doing so well. They're 0-2, I think. And they lost Van Fleet to an ACL injury.
Yeah.
But on the bright side, they have Kevin Durant.
Pretty
So
good.
how do you think they will do this year?
You want to take this one first, Jeb?
Yeah, yeah. I think so. Watching that first game against, oh man, who do they play?
Uh,
Shoot.
OKC.
OKC, yeah, yeah. Watching that awesome game against OKC, it's very clear, they just have an insane amount of athleticism, an insane amount of height and strength, and overpowering rebounding and paint, like clogging up the paint, scoring in the paint, all that. Like they have a lot of really, really, really exciting strengths. Watching that team was very fun. But, as we got closer to the end of the fourth quarter and things started to tighten up a bit, suddenly, the ball stopped moving. Durant took like one shot in the fourth quarter, was barely touching the ball. You had Sengun just like pulling up like fadeaways, threes, like, he was hitting them because Sengun's incredible, but he was not getting the quality shots he was getting at the beginning of the game. And they do not have it just became more and more clear that they do not have a guy that can handle the ball, can distribute the ball, can find KD in his spots, can set KD up for easy buckets, set Sengun up for easy buckets, et cetera, et cetera. Pick and roll with, a guy that sets great screens like Steven Adams, all that. And so, I'm someone who's never been a big Van Fleet fan, to be honest. But I think watching this team has quickly made me realize, he's a little better than I gave him credit for, because it is so obvious this team misses him so much. And so I mean, I think the Rockets will be fine. I think they're 1,000% going to make some sort of trade before the trade deadline to get a ball handler, because they are built to win now. They traded for KD, so they're not going to just be like, all right, we're going to, be a first round exit, a second round exit, and just figure it out next year. Like they're going to push all the chips in the center and try to get someone who can handle the ball. And, I think they were hoping that Reed Shepherd would, you know, even though they didn't play him at all last year, they're just like, all right, we're just going to throw you in the deep end and you're going to be amazing right from the start. But obviously, he has some growth, and I think, I'm sure Zerv Van Vliet is, mentoring him somewhat, but you need someone there to be the adult in the room and to, you know, distribute the ball to a lot of these guys, get Almond when he's cutting, like I said, get KD into spots. So I think the Rockets will be fine. I think they'll make a deep playoff run. It just really depends on uh, who they trade for, because I think it's inevitable that they make a pretty big trade.
Yeah. How about you, Mike?
Yeah, I think, there's certain teams like say the Knicks or the Cavs, right? Where we're what they are right now is probably what they're going to be like in April, or like maybe a little bit better, a little bit worse, couple little changes, whatever, but we get a pretty good feel for what they're going to be. I think what's kind of fun about Houston is what they are right now is truly just like it's beginning of like pottery or whatever. You've just got like a blob of clay and you're trying to figure out what the heck this is going to look like in a couple months. And I kind of think that's what Houston is right now. Like to Jeb's point, they could make a trade. Reed Shepard, what he looks like right now might look very different 2 months from now. Amin Thompson, they're asking him to not only defend whoever their best player is, they're like, can you also dribble the ball up and pass the ball and do all this stuff? It's a lot to ask for somebody who's never done that before. Kind of similarly to how we were talking about Cooper Flagg. It's just like a lot of responsibility on somebody who's young and hasn't done it. But I do think that there's still, like, if we fast forward a few months, Reed Shepard and Amin Thompson both figure it out a little bit more. Maybe they pick up like some sort of veteran guard. Maybe it's not a massive trade, but it's just like some adult kind of in the room that can like take some of the pressure off. It's not going to be Chris Paul, but like somebody like that, you know? So I do think I think Houston can still do it. And to Jeb's point too, like I'm not the hugest Fred VanVleet guy, but the dude won an NBA championship. He is someone who is like a calming presence that can be like, hey, let's like one of the things that we've been seeing is late in games, hard to get the ball to Kevin Durant, which shouldn't be because he's an incredible offensive player. Fred VanVleet can like just take the ball up and be like, set a screen here. We're going to get KD a shot, right? Like he just is in control. And so I think they're missing that right now. So that's the thing that they really need. But I do think Houston, they're like their upside, like they could finish anywhere between like sixth and second in the West. I feel like they could like still give OKC and Denver a lot of problems in the playoffs.
So you think they're gonna be clinching, not in the play-in box?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the worst they would finish is like, gosh, fourth or fifth in the West.
Okay. Um, who do you think will have the best record next year from both conferences
At the end of
Oh,
this
from
season or next season?
this season?
This season.
from each conference? 'Cause I was gonna say, if we're talking about best record overall, it probably has to be a team in the East.
Oh, interesting. Just because they have an easier
Yeah,
schedule.
you're playing the Wizards way more than the
Yeah,
Nuggets are.
it's that very good point. The Thunder just seem like they might never lose. Every time I think the Thunder are gonna lose, they win. So like I have no idea what to do with the Thunder. So I'm with you though that it's like I feel like it's the Thunder or the Knicks are the two teams that I would pick. I don't know how you feel about that, Jeb.
Yeah, I picked the Knicks. I think Cleveland, after having a disappointing playoffs last year, they're almost going to purposefully not win as many games as
Yeah.
possible, because they want to make sure they're healthy for the playoffs. And it's just bad PR when you crush like 60, 70 wins and then you just whimper out in the playoffs. So I think they're going to lay low. I think the Knicks could easily run off quite a few. Mike Brown's using the bench, so Jalen Brunson and the rest of the guys, are going to be a lot more like fresh every game. So I would think they would win quite a few. Like we said before, the East is pretty barren. But yeah, I think the only other possibility is OKC, and it's just, do they want to, turn on the afterburners before playoffs start? Because, since they're the defending champs, you got a lot of teams that are going to be giving it their best effort, and they're just having to deal with, a little extra physicality, a little extra effort from all these teams they're playing. And I think OKC is deep enough that they're like, yeah, SGA is going to sit the last 15 games of the season. And we're going to have Aaron Wiggins, just ball out. And we're going to have Jalen Williams, ball out while Chet recovers from some weird wrist injury he has. Like, we want to be 100% going into the playoffs. So I
Mhm.
think it's very possible to go cruise control.
Um, I think the Thunder for the West, I think they're probably going to top maybe 60 wins. I'm
Hmm.
not sure if they're going to get to 68 like last year,
Yeah.
just because of all the moves.
Hmm.
In the East, it's probably going to be Knicks or Cavs, but
Yeah.
it's hard. I don't know which one will be.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
very close.
And it ultimately comes down to like injuries. Like if someone on the
Mhm.
Knicks gets hurt, then guess what? They're probably not winning the most games.
Yep.
So, and unfortunately, you can never really predict that.
Yeah. If if Shea gets hurt, then the Thunder is probably gonna go down. I think someone else is gonna take the 1 seed. If Bronson gets hurt, then it's gonna be the Cavs. Vice
For
versa. If
sure.
Garland or Mitchell is out for the season, the Knicks are gonna take that top seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
And how about the MVP, the DPOY, the sixth man, and the coach of the year predictions?
Well, I'm going to just say Spurs across the board. I'm going to
Yeah.
say Wemby MVP, Wemby Defensive Player of the Year. I think he's going to win the sixth man because he's just dominating so much. They're like, we got to give him another award. And then I think the Spurs head coach is going to win Coach of the Year. I
Full
just think,
sweep.
yeah, full sweep. I just think Wemby looks so insane. Like a lot of people were like, oh, maybe Wemby will be like in the MVP discussion. People were like, oh, don't be surprised if, he's a top five MVP candidate. I don't think anyone thought he would just come so strong out of the gate where everyone's like, kind of like, yeah, it's basically if he can stay healthy, if he plays enough games, he's a lock for Defensive Player of the Year like he was last year. And barring, Lucas starts averaging 50 points a game because LeBron's out and he's just dragging a terrible Lakers team to a play in. I think it's Wemby's to lose, like just from early reaction.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you on the Wemby stuff. I think Wemby's going to be like MVP, Defensive Player of the Year for sure. MVP too. That's like that's where I'm with you. It'd be funny if they gave him the sixth man of the year. We could keep it with the Spurs though and give it to Harper. I feel like Harper would be a fun sixth man of the year, but not to
Oh,
just
okay.
like copy everything that you're saying. Let's come up with another sixth man of the year here. I was really excited about it being Anthony Simons, but the Celtics team looks so bad. How about Josh Hart for the Knicks? He's coming off the bench. I
Mm.
think that would be a fun one. Um, and then coach of the year. Yeah, I mean, okay, let's say it's not going to be Mitch Johnson, who's the coach of the Spurs, since that's what you said. Let's get another like surprise story here. What about what about Nick Nurse as the 76ers seem to be like dodging Paul George injuries, Joel Embiid injuries, but Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, they're off to like another hot start as we're talking right now. Maybe they overachieve in a pretty yucky Eastern Conference team. Maybe Nick Nurse can steal one.
For me,
That'd be crazy.
MVP, I think I'm trying not to copy you, but I honestly think it's Wemby. He's
Yeah,
seven
he's too
foot
good.
4, 5, 6. Honestly, I don't know at all.
Nobody does.
He averages like 50,000 blocks per game,
Yeah.
and he averages more rebounds than that. So I think it's going to be him. And if he gets injured, I think it's probably going to be Jokic.
Hmm.
And the DPOY Wemby, because
For
as I
sure.
said just before, 50,000 blocks per game. Six man, that's tough. Mm, I also like no Horford starting, but
He's coming
I
off the
don't,
bench sometimes too. I think it's a mixture.
yeah,
yeah.
he's not going to play back to backs though. So I don't think he's really going to have the games played to even be in the sixth man conversation.
But then the Thunder, Caruso's doing pretty well, so
Yeah, they the Thunder have like eight six men. It's like
Yeah.
anybody who comes off the bench is awesome for the Thunder.
Yeah. Yeah. I had never heard of AJ Mitchell, and suddenly he's just like
It's awesome.
dropping 20, 30 a game.
It's crazy.
yeah.
Absolutely nuts.
I think him, I mean, he was
Mm.
able he runs the offense well. His
Hmm.
defense is phenomenal. He was able to block Sengun, who is like 9 inches taller than him, if you saw
Yeah.
opening day. So
I
I
like
I
think
it.
saw that.
probably gonna go to him. And then coach of the year,
Who
it
do you
could
got?
it could be, I think, either like a, a Mike Brown because
Hmm.
he it's new. He's probably has new coaching styles rather than Thibodeau's, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, he definitely has some new styles, that's for sure.
Maybe
Like subs.
or maybe Ime Udoka if
Mm,
the Rockets are thriving really well.
Yeah, Ime would be cool just because of like, the underlying
sure.
reason he like left the Celtics. It would be a cool like
That would be
full
fun.
circle moment for him for sure. Very validating. I will say real quick, before the season started and before I saw Wemby and just had an incredible conviction, I was saying that Luka was going to win MVP
Hmm.
because LeBron was sitting out and throwing his temper tantrum. And then you're playing with DeAndre Ayton, who was cut from another team. You're playing with Marcus Smart. You're playing with a bunch of guys who like no one is like, oh man, these are elite players surrounding Luka.
Right.
And I was like, he's just going to average, 30, 40 a game. Like he's just going to put up like insane numbers. And he's a guy that people have kind of already been upset that he's been like snubbed for MVP in the past. Like it was like 2 years ago where people were upset that he didn't get more votes and that Jokic won.
Hmm.
So, and then the whole like, him getting traded and essentially being called fat by Nico Harrison and him slimming up and being in way more shape. Like the narrative is really there as well. But if Wemby keeps playing like this and stays healthy, I just don't think the Lakers will have a good enough record for Luka to win the MVP. I think the numbers might be there, but I think the Lakers will probably be like, a 5-6 seed, and you kind of have to be like a top three seeded team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How about young people, the rookies? Who do you think is the sleeper of the NBA draft just now?
Ooh, the sleeper. I really, man, I mean, this is such a homer pick, because I love the Celtics, but I think Hugo Gonzalez, I don't think he's gonna put up the stats like some of these guys are putting up right now. But I think Hugo's gonna be a really like important player on a good team in years to come. But if we're just talking stats, the dude from Memphis who's got a fun last name, Cedric Coward, has been incredible the first week. And a lot of that due to injuries for Memphis with Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr. missing time. But he's been awesome. But those are my two favorites.
Yeah, I would say Coward for sure. Me and Mike and a couple of our other friends, we were hyping up Coward pretty heavily before the season started. Just thinking like fantasy wise, he could be a really good sleeper pick, and especially with as the injuries started to come out before the season started, it's like, look, the window of opportunity is going to be there for him.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the Grizzlies just draft well. They just every single time they pick a guy who no one thinks is going to be anything special, and the guy turns out to be just an absolute dog.
I love it.
Um,
What about
Me,
you?
think it's either going to be Coward or Ace Bailey.
That's a good one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Ace Bailey's interesting. He's done all right. So I mean, it's so early in the season, but it'll be interesting to see like ultimately how he gets used by Utah and what their new roadmap is. Because a lot of people are saying they're going to trade away Laurie. And then what is that Utah team going to look like after? Are they going to keep Walker Kessler? Like, are they building around Bailey, or is Bailey being a piece being used to build around, someone else?
yeah. How about the 76ers? Will they do, is it going to be boom or bust like last season?
Yeah, I think for the first time in the last few years, expectations have been reset a little bit. So the idea of boom looks different than it has in previous years. So I do think it'll be considered a boom. Because I think Edgecombe, the third overall pick that they were able to snag, oh, not third, fifth overall pick. What was it?
He was third. He was
He
third.
was
Third? It
third,
was
yeah.
third. So, oh yeah. What was Con Knipple? Was he four?
It was Cooper Flagg, then Dylan
Harper,
Harper, then VJ to
then
the,
VJ.
then Con Knipple to the Hornets, and
There we
then
go. Con was
Ace
four.
and
Bailey,
then Bailey.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Thank you. And then Trey Johnson
Trey
maybe.
Johnson.
Yeah. I think the addition of VJ is just so much fun for them, and they play a different style. They're running around. They're like super fast. Actually, I had the game pulled up here for a second. They're beating Orlando right now by 12 at halftime without Joel Embiid and Paul George. And Orlando is considered to be like a top four team. So I would say boom in the sense that I think they finish in the top six in the East, but I'm not saying they're going to win a champ. They might not even win a playoff round, but I think the vibes, the energy of Philadelphia, the aura, if you will be much more boom than bust this season.
Yeah, I think I mean, as someone who's like been historically very low on Embiid since the beginning, I do think it would be more of a boom if the 76ers didn't just sign Embiid to that giant contract.
Yeah.
I think fans would be way more excited about Edgecombe and all this if they're just like, hey, like, it's a bummer we never, made it past the second round with Embiid, but we had an exciting MVP candidate for a bit, and now we're turning the page to this new chapter. So I like Mike said, I agree they're probably going to be a top six team. It's not going to be that hard to do that in the East this year, but I think there's going to be a bit of a gloomy cloud kind of overhanging that fandom for a bit until they figure out like what the long term like plan is with Embiid. Like, are they going to trade him for a team and maybe attach some all right, we're moving on to these new guys. We gave it a shot with Embiid. Now we're turning the page here, or are they going to still try to stick it out and rehab him and be like, all right, no, we'll get him in here. We'll have him ready for the playoffs. He'll play, whatever, like however many games before he possibly gets hurt again. I mean, they've played him a little bit here and there already, but he doesn't look healthy.
No.
Yeah, he looks hurt. And once again, they signed him to that giant contract, and now you're stuck with that. And how long do they have Paul George till? Do you remember, Mike?
I think it's this year and next year, maybe.
Okay, so that's not too bad at least. At least you're not
Yeah.
stuck with Paul George and Embiid. But yeah, it is a bummer because on top of Edgecombe and Maxey just looking great, you have McCain who will be coming back, I think, in like a month or so, and he looked amazing when he was
Mhm.
playing. So they have a lot of really exciting pieces, a lot of really exciting players. The question is like long term, like how are they going to decide their path, like their plan for the next 5 years? So I think I would say I would go boom, but I do think it's not as heavy of a boom as if they could kind of start fresh.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna make the playoffs also because Edgecombe, Maxi's do he had like a couple 40 plus point games last year, if I
Hmm.
recall correctly.
Mhm.
And also the fact that it doesn't it also helps that the East is also wide open because
Definitely.
Tatum, Halliburton, Dame's out of here. All the good teams last year are now going to in that rebuilding or waiting stage.
Hmm.
So I think they're going to be top six. Obviously, maybe they might be one of the upper seeds,
Hmm.
Hmm.
being the one, two, three, or four.
Do you think they're going to win a playoff series, AJ?
Mm, but I think they won't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page there.
I'm with you.
I think if they play the Cavs, they're probably
Smoked.
going.
Yeah, they're probably out in
They're out of
five.
there. If they play the Knicks, it's goodbye.
Yeah, it's
Um,
tough.
Yeah.
I think if who else do we have? If they play maybe one of the Florida teams, they have a possibility of winning.
Hmm.
Orlando, Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting. I think they're not completely dead in the water. Like Mike said, they're literally, beating the Magic by 12 right now. And if you would ask me before the game started, I'd have been like,
Right.
yeah, they're gonna Orlando's gonna crush them.
The
Like,
bar is much lower now. That's what we've
yeah,
learned.
yeah, definitely. But thankfully, the bar for the East is low in general, so
That's right.
it might be a decent
That's
season for
right.
them.
Okay. We've been most of this show so far has been like, do you think this team will make the playoffs? How will this team do? Blah blah blah. Now, how about we make our playoffs? So, which teams do you think the 8 teams that will make the playoffs on both sides this year?
Ooh, on both sides. All right, let's ready. Well, I'll try to do it rapid fire. Let's go Knicks in the one spot. We're gonna go Cavs in the two spot. We're gonna go. I do think Atlanta is gonna finish three. We'll take Orlando four. We're gonna go Detroit five, Philly six, Miami seven, Milwaukee eight. Those are
Hmm.
gonna be my top eight in the East. In the West is so hard, but we'll just say OKC. We're gonna say Denver. We're gonna go Minnesota three. We're gonna go Houston four. You know what? San Antonio five.
I like
Clippers
it.
six. I think the Warriors seven. And the Warriors is still good and they're finishing seven. And then Lakers eight, because I just refuse to give Dallas any credit. And that was really hard.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty close to what Mike is. I would say, yeah, Knicks one, Cleveland two. Uh who did you have three, Mike?
Yeah,
You put the
Atlanta.
Hawks? Yeah.
Yeah, but
I would
we're throwing
yeah.
darts.
Yeah, I would probably put Orlando three, Detroit four, Atlanta or yeah, Orlando, sorry. Orlando and Atlanta sounds very similar. Orlando three, Detroit four, I'd say Atlanta five, uh, Heat six, Charlotte seven, or Bucks seven, Charlotte eight. Although I'm leaving Toronto out, and I feel like they're for sure going to make the
Oh,
playoffs. So
yeah, you're right. I did
yeah,
that too.
and then the Bulls like look decent too. I don't
Hmm.
know. It's tough. It's early in the season, but I do like I do feel like Miami, they always overperform, and they're going to somehow overperform and then fail in the playoffs again.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. And then in the West, I'll go OKC, Denver, Minnesota, Houston, just like Mike. I think that's relatively spot on. I like San Antonio at five. I'd probably I think I'm going to put the Warriors at five, San Antonio at six, and then Clippers at seven, Lakers at eight. So pretty similar to Mike.
Okay, my turn.
Go for it.
Knicks one, Cavs two. I think I'll have Detroit three,
Ooh,
Ooh,
nice.
okay.
I like it.
and then I'll put Detroit over Orlando four. Five, I think it will be the Hawks.
Okay.
Six, I'm putting the Sixers. Seven, I think I'm putting Kobe White, Josh Giddey, the Bulls in there.
Hmm.
And then eight would be Miami.
Nice.
Sounds about right. Yeah, I like that.
Western Conference, OKC one. I think Denver two. Minnesota three. San Antonio four.
Oh, wow.
I think MVP Wemby and his co over the Houston Rockets. And then Houston five. I think I'll put the Clippers at six. This might be a little hometown bias, but I'm putting the Warriors at seven.
There you go.
And then eight, the Lakers in the Mavs. Because it's tough. Lakers, Mavs, Cooper versus Luca. I
I personally think Luka's a little better than Cooper right now.
I
So
think Luca is a little better than Cooper, but I think
Close.
Cooper's supporting cast is probably better than Luca's.
It's true.
yeah, I think if you think the Mavericks can stay healthy, you can put them 8. If you think AD is going to get hurt or if Kyrie is going to come back and not be 100%, maybe the Lakers finish
Hmm.
above them.
Okay. So, fine, I guess. Kyrie gets an ankle breaker, hits the game-winning shot to make the playoffs, Dallas 8.
Nice.
Love it.
With all due
Huge.
respect to the Lakers.
All due respect.
Yes. And the last one, out of the teams you just listed, do you think there will be a surprise playoff team in there?
The only I did not list this one. So that's how surprising I think it is that I did not even list it. I think the Charlotte Hornets like might make the playoffs. That's like my fun one. I could see Charlotte making a move here.
Yeah. How about you,
Yeah.
Jeb? Any
I
surprise?
would say I did put Charlotte in my top 8. So I will say no. I think the draft is good enough that there's a lot of teams that are just like, yeah, we're not even going to try to win. And it I feel like this is the first time in a while where it just seems like who like the top 10 teams are. And so like it's not really a surprise. Like, I'm not sure who's gonna actually be 7 and 8, but I have an idea who's gonna be in the play in. I'm gonna have an idea. Two of those four teams are probably gonna make the playoffs. So I think it'll be
Sure.
relatively predictable for the first time in a bit.
Well, let's make a twist to our playoff bracket.
Well,
So the Knicks are doing so well, la 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 la, until
Mhm.
Jalen Brunson and Towns are out for the season.
oh gosh.
And unfortunately for those Thunder fans, the same thing happens to Shea and J-Dub.
Whoa.
Dang.
And those two teams are down to the bunker. Now, who do you
Okay.
think would be the fill-in for them? So who do you think, with all the teams going up one seed, who do you think will be that
All right.
nine?
I think I know what Jeb's gonna say. So on one of them. So I'm gonna not pick Denver because I feel like you had already outlined Denver, right? So I don't want to take Denver from
No, I
you.
think he's saying who's gonna like be the 11 seed that gets bumped up into, or the 9 seed that gets bumped up
Yeah,
into the
that's
8.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
My bad, my bad. When you said Brunson and Towns, I
It's
got you.
fine.
I got you. Oh, all right. Well, I think I feel like I left the Charlotte Hornets out, so I would include them. But I also left Toronto out, so I'll give Toronto
Ooh.
some love because Toronto's starting five is really, really good, and Brandon Ingram, Emmanuel quickly. They got the rookie Colin Murray Boyles is playing for the first time today, and he's already off to like a pretty good start. So I think Toronto would be fun on the Eastern Conference, and on the West, I mean Portland. Outside of the off the court stuff that's going on, Portland is kind of a frisky team that plays really, really hard and they play really good defense. And if there's one thing that transfers from regular season to the postseason, it's defense. So maybe Portland could sneak in there.
So you're not involving those poor Dallas Mavericks on your playoffs?
Listen, AJ, we've been talking for 35 minutes, and you know what? I'm not gonna start giving Dallas some love now. Okay, we're gonna stay the whole way. No Dallas love here.
Okay, so we can have the 1.4 or something million people that live in
Yeah,
that.
that's right. That's right. For the 1.4 million people listening at home. Sorry,
Dallas
Dallas.
Public Enemy number one.
Oh, don't worry. I have 3.9 million people on my back for not including LA.
Nah. I think I'm gonna go. I think the easy answer in the West, since I didn't include the Mavericks, would be the Mavericks. But I think I'm not gonna. I think I'm also gonna keep them out. I like this energy. I'm gonna go the New Orleans Pelicans
Ooh, that's
because
fun.
they cannot lose, no matter how
That's right.
bad they're playing.
That's
They
right.
have to try to win because is it Atlanta who owns their draft
Atlanta
pick?
owns their first round pick. Yeah, yeah.
Atlanta owns their first round pick unprotected. So if they just are like, all right, Zion's out, like we're just gonna, wait for next season. They have no option to do that. They have to try as hard as they can.
It's
They
great.
have so that means, Trey Murphy's not gonna get shut down. Herb Jones is not gonna get shut down. Like these guys are gonna be playing. So I think if there's a surprise team, it's gonna be the Pelicans purely off of just nothing but effort.
Great
Because
take.
yeah. And then in the East, I think who did I keep out? I think I would have to say Toronto. I think that's
Yeah.
I think they would be in the top six if I'm being honest. I guess I didn't write down my my rankings, but I can't leave Toronto out. They're really good. It's a starting five of a bunch of really overplayed, talented players. I just don't think they can be denied in the East.
Okay, so my turn. In the West, I don't want 4 million people mad at me, so I'm putting the Lakers in. But
Smart.
even when I put the Mavs in, I said that was a tough decision because
True,
I think Luca is obviously the better overall player than Cooper, but I think Cooper
Sure.
has the better supporting than Luca.
true.
And in the East, I don't think I included the Toronto Raptors.
There we go. We're making friends with Canada today.
Yeah, you
So
you
I'm
angered you angered all of LA, but you got the entire country of
Got
Canada. So
country.
I'd say that's a fair trade.
okay, fine. I'm I'm putting the Raptors in.
Smart.
Hell
And
yeah.
by the way, Canada Day also shares the same day as my birthday. So
Oh
Huge.
wow.
That's great.
There you go.
I made a peace treaty with the 37 million people.
I think that's always a smart move.
And that was all our questions I had today. So thank you both for joining me here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
That was
thanks for having
fun.
us, man. This was really fun. I get to do a lot of these, and you did such a great job. So it was in I appreciate you having the questions ready to go, and I felt like you kept me on my toes, which I appreciate.
So, and thank you both for coming here. Bye.